The member for Oshawa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I am very pleased to have the opportunity to rise in this fine legislature on behalf of the folks from Oshawa and make comments on Bill 34, which is an act to repeal the Green Energy Act 2009 and to amend the Electricity Act 1998, the Environmental Protection Act, the Planning Act, and various other statutes. So we're here, and it sounds like we're accomplishing a lot of things because I just listed a lot of acts and statutes. I would say that we're not doing too much. We're doing far too little when it comes to advancing our climate goals. But also, this bill is largely symbolic, and I'll speak to that. It's sort of a continuation of what happened on the campaign. It's like we're still campaigning. We, being they, are still campaigning for the election. But you know, fun fact and a bit of a spoiler alert: it's over. You won. But here we are. Let's talk about the climate, because right now no one is winning. And to hear the minister opposite talk about, you know, the NDP wants the same things as the government in terms of lower rates and in terms of affordable energy. Yes, but I think where we differ, Madam Speaker, is that we want there still to be a planet for our children and the children of those children and their children to be able to inhabit. And so I think that is an interesting part of this, that when we hear the government talk about the Green Energy Act has always been bad for Ontarians. Okay, so then what? You know, and that's what's missing. There is no plan. And it's an interesting week. I was thinking this, we just had our break over constituency week to be home in our communities. And, you know, a lot of folks were quite, well, the UN report came out that talks about the dire situation in which we find ourselves right now, on the threshold of, if we don't make massive changes right now to what we aren't doing and what we should be doing, we are going to find ourselves in a world of hurt, literally, a world on fire and in torment, because we're seeing the climate change and the temperatures rise. And so over constituency week, as this report came out and we were, you know, the communities were responding and reacting and recognizing we'd better pull up our socks because we are responsible stewards for the planet, and we haven't been responsible. And I thought, my goodness, we're coming back on the heels of this report to this legislature, debating conservation, debating climate, debating energy. And I was really hopeful, and this is where sometimes it's too bad that I have that optimistic gene. You know, I came here hopeful that the government might actually get up and say, you know what, we're going to reverse course here. We're actually going to come forward with a plan. We are going to say, yeah, while we're scrapping this, here's this great idea. We are going to take responsibility because we are the government of Ontario and we all need a place to live. But that's not where we are. So back to the bill. This is the Green Energy Repeal Act, and as my colleague, the member for Toronto, Danforth, put it, he really did sum it up into there are three main pieces to this bill, or three areas of focus, and that is that hydro rates are rising, the cost of energy continues to go up. This bill does not address that. He really said that this bill is symbolic. It continues that sort of campaign rhetoric and attacks green and renewable energy, but doesn't change the landscape so that we can actually do something positive. And really, the third part is that this is another example of this government turning its back on climate action and not making decisions in the best interests of Ontarians. So breaking that down and looking at I've got two desks full of papers and articles and all of the things that I want to share, so I'd better get to it. But when it comes to hydro, I think everybody has had the opportunity over the last couple of years as we've been debating energy costs to have a personal, constituency-based understanding of what it means to have unbelievably high energy costs and hydro bills. Whether it is a family that comes to your office and they cannot afford to keep the heat on, or they cannot afford to keep the lights on. They're struggling with their family bill. We know those people. You know those people. We have advocated for those families and those individuals. But also, every person in here has a business in their riding, or a curling club in their riding, or an art gallery in their riding, or some space in their riding that cannot afford their bills, that they struggle with the unpredictability of those bills. You know, the global adjustment charge can fluctuate wildly, and we as communities are all impacted by the unpredictable and rising cost of energy. So that's why it's disappointing to see this piece of legislation, and it's not addressing that. You know, bills are up, as we heard the member from Toronto Danforth. Bills are up basically 100%, and while the government would, this particular government would frame it that all of that cost is sort of, you know, the fault of green energy, as he broke it down, that the green energy contracts and the green energy piece accounts for about 15%. So the remaining 85%, if we look at those numbers, we're going to see quite a history, and we all know it when it comes to gas plants, when it comes to poor decisions. But here we are. And Adam Beck, Sir Adam Beck, would be rolling over in his grave at what we have done to public power and what we have done to the access to that public power. And when we all are spending time in Toronto and, you know, driving down just from Queen's Park, there is a statue of Sir Adam Beck sitting in a chair, and it is a fountain when it's nice weather.
Niagara Falls.
Yep, and it is a statue, it is a monument to public power for the people, right? And it's so disheartening now when you drive by it and you think, you know how far we have fallen, so to speak. Because Sir Adam Beck said that he had a dream, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't have his words in front of me, but basically said that his dream was that he would look out into every field across Ontario and see lights on in the farms, you know, that every business would be able to have affordable power. And, you know, we have been discussing with Bill 32, which is access to natural gas, and I had given a riveting hour speech on that. But the conversations that we're having about access to affordable energy, we have farms, we have you know, agribusiness, we have families in our remote and our rural and our northern regions. They can't afford power. They can't at all. So we're having a conversation, and we've come so far from the original dream that was, you know, affordable, cheap power for the people, for business, for growth. So anyway, what a journey to get here. And looking back at the history of that, you know, back in 2005 when the Harris government decided to privatize and started that free fall, and then the Liberals were like, ooh, that seems fun, let's jump on that, and here we are now. And this government is saying, well, let's keep going. And that's problematic. And I don't mean to make light of it, Speaker, but I think it's important to recognize that just washing our hands of responsibility and saying, well, hand it over to, you know, privatize it, hand it over to the private sector, I'm sure it'll go well. Well, it hasn't. Because if you relinquish control entirely and wash your hands of it, then you don't get to rein them in. You don't get to advocate the way that, or to look after the broader public. And I think that is being responsible as government, is being responsible as government. You know, I think it's pretty basic there. But hydro costs. Something that's interesting about this bill is when you listen to the government talk about we're repealing the Green Energy Act, because the Green Energy Act was, you know, we've been listening to the Conservatives say for years that it was all that is wrong with the world in the Green Energy Act. But interestingly, with Bill 34, is sort of a symbolic exercise, which is, you know, keeping the election rhetoric and conversation going. But Bill 34 isn't a solution. It lets the this government continue doing what the last government had been doing, which is to make potentially costly and wasteful energy decisions behind closed doors, which, no offense, makes me nervous. We've seen it before, and I think it'll continue. But if the decisions are not measurably and accountably being made in the best interest of Ontarians, well, what good is that? But something that's interesting, most of the actual Green Energy Act, wait for it, Speaker, this is a fun part, most of the Green Energy Act is reenacted. So under Bill 34 is reenacted under the Electricity Act. So, they can talk about repealing the Green Energy Act, but we're shifting big chunks of it to the Electricity Act. And if anybody over there would like to correct my understanding of that, please do during questions and comments. But Bill 34 will revoke all the existing Green Energy Act regulations, okay, the regulations. Including energy efficiency standards for appliances, requirements for efficiency and conservation plans, disclosure of government energy consumption data, all that sort of thing. We don't know if those regulations will come back, but they're repealing it. They're moving chunks to the Electricity Act. Shh, don't tell. They are revoking the regulations. We don't know if some of them will come back. But it doesn't do anything to rein in the skyrocketing hydro costs. And the provincial government, we've seen it. It was the first order of business right out the gate was to cancel IESO contracts for renewable energy projects that hadn't been completed or hadn't gotten to the the operation stage. Interestingly, I have a train that goes just at the back of my property, and it was a lovely day, and I watched the train going by, and I saw all of the windmill blades heading that way on the train, car after car after car after car, and it was just an interesting moment to see, to see green energy literally leaving the province by rail. But I worry because this government has worked so hard, and well, not so much it's not the government, it's the members across the way has worked so. Order, please.
Did you enjoy that?
But the government has worked so. Sorry, Jen. Has worked. I know, but they're going to interrupt me with clapping again. Has relentlessly ensured that green order, please. Man, if they enjoyed working for the province as much as they enjoyed their own voice and clapping, imagine where we could be. But they have worked relentlessly to make green energy a dirty word, which is ironic because green is, tends to be clean.
A lot of them have green ties on today.
Well,
same.
All right, I'm going to continue with or without interruption. So, green energy actually isn't a dirty word, but when you look at contracts that are signed at top dollar right out the gate without any consideration to the math or the numbers, or it's like always buying a new car and never letting someone else pay the depreciation, right? We've got the same thing. Ooh, here's a shiny new thing. The last government signed a contract that put us on the hook for high costs. And a lot of decisions were made that I would argue were really not in the best interest of Ontarians. But that doesn't say that there isn't room for innovation or room for green investment. There should be. So what is the plan? And where is the business case to be made when you're talking about innovation, when we're meeting with stakeholders who have, if it's battery technology or different, green energy options? There is no space for that as it stands now. And I think that we need to be responsible and look to the future, especially when we're faced with reports that are coming out and we have the chance to learn. Now, let me find those notes. Aha. So I thought it would be interesting for the government to hear from the Business Insider. I pulled something that I thought would appeal to them. The Business Insider, this is an article from October 8th, and it's entitled, "The Scariest Parts of the New Climate Change Report. The goals the world set are inadequate, and the track we're on is disastrous." This isn't necessarily a New Democrat publication, right? This is the Business Insider, so I'm going to keep reading because I might still have their attention. The world could see severe catastrophic effects of climate change far sooner than anticipated, according to a new report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and we're running out of time to thwart it. According to the new report, we're already close to blowing past those thresholds into temperature zones that will have devastating consequences. We're expected to hit that 1.5 degree mark around 2040. By 2100, we're on track to see more than 3 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. It goes on to explain what that would look like, but I thought I'd share a few. These effects will make certain parts of the world less habitable for humans. Coastal cities like Miami or New York will have to adapt or abandon part or all of their territory, and for the millions of people who live in nations that are particularly vulnerable to warmer temperatures, significant societal disruption and migration are likely. I'm going to come back to that in a second. And finishing up, scientists have been sounding the alarm on climate change for decades, yet global emissions are expected to rise again in 2018. This latest report shows that the need for action is more urgent than ever. And this government says nothing. We are faced with change. It is a real thing. I heard them say that earlier, so that's good. We're all on the same page that the world is changing, that climate is changing. Interesting piece about the migration. So if we are going to have a planet that has regions that are not habitable, and those families are going to be motivated to find a place that is habitable and safe for their children, we're going to find ourselves in North America and in different parts of the world that might have more habitable climates. We're going to find ourselves with a lot more people joining us in our communities. So this is a government that says that people are illegal and talks about illegal border crossers and use all sorts of inflammatory language. Well, literally the planet is, parts of it are going to be on fire. We need to put the brakes on now. We need to do our part. We need to have clear targets. We need to not just keep talking to hear ourselves or to our banker friends or whatever. When you're talking about people's survival, good luck keeping them out of safe spaces. We need to ensure that we do our part as lawmakers here in Ontario, so that we are making responsible decisions that look forward. When we talk about our Indigenous communities, one of the things that I remember learning as a teacher was about 7 generations that you needed to consider when you were making decisions, 7 generations forward. Right? 7 generations, not just immediate future, but your children, their children, 7 generations out. And everything we do, unfortunately, has not reflected that. And I think that that's something we should bear in mind. But then, not to be unkind, but it would seem that this government not only isn't making decisions 7 generations out, but I don't know if they know what we're doing tomorrow. So it's something that I would like to see. Prove me wrong. I've got 2 minutes left, and then it's their turn to make questions and comments. Prove me wrong. Come up with a plan, something. How are we going to do our part, and why aren't we? Like, who's the motivating force over there that is saying, you know, we don't need to have a plan. Let's pull out of all of these things. Let's not set new targets. Anyway, here's another piece from the Star. This is back in September. Ontario's Environmental Commissioner slams Ford government over gutted climate change policies. The new Doug Ford, we're not supposed to say names, right? Okay, so the new government has gutted Ontario's climate change programs without providing replacements as the problems of global warming become more urgent, Environmental Commissioner Diane Sachs says in a damning new report. Quote, "We had a climate law and programs that were working, now we don't," end quote, Sachs said Tuesday. Everywhere you look, you see that we are falling short, and we have such a different option. Like, this is a room full of really capable, intelligent people with different backgrounds that they draw from. We have fantastic people that work in the government behind the scenes, you know, in terms of research and policy. Why can't we come up with something that is responsible, that isn't just answering to the different special interest groups and, you know, I don't know who's pushing this, but it should be all of the people outside of this building. It should be the families and the children in our environment that motivate us to actually come up with strong policy and forward-thinking policy. So this Green Energy Repeal Act, doesn't provide us with a plan. It's mostly symbolic. It shifts much of the Green Energy Act into the Electricity Act, revokes some regulations, responsible regulations about efficiencies and standards and whatnot. And I guess I wonder what the motivation is. So I have 5 seconds left. This government can hopefully answer some of that. What's your motivation, and where are we going to live would be the great question, or where are our kids going to live? Thank you.
Questions and comments?